Con. The book of Revelations, chapter 6, verses 5 and 6. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, "Come and see." And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. Verse 6. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, "A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine." Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Call Halal Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Harakah Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. Peace and blessing and salutation to the elect men who continue to push this truth throughout the four corners of the earth in these last days. Shalom, Akim, Shalom. The Most High's name is Yahweh, which means he exists. It is not Jehovah. It is not Yahweh. It is not Yahuwah. It is Yahweh, which means he exists. As he broke his name down to Moses in the Lashawan Kadash, which is the Paleo-Hebrew, when you read Exodus, the 3rd chapter in the 15th verse, all the way down in the Hebrew tongue. His only begotten son's name is Yahweh Shai, which means he saves. He is the savior. He is the deliverer. It is not Jesus Christ. It is not Yahshua. It is not Yeshua. It is Yahweh Shai. And Yahweh Shai comes in his Father's name, as he stated in the scriptures. No man gets to the Father but through him. Okay? And the real 12 tribes of Israel, of Yashar Allah, consist of the so-called Negroes, so-called West Indians, so-called Haitians, so-called Jamaicans, so-called Puerto Ricans, so-called Native Americans, so-called Seminole Indians, so-called Cubans, so-called Colombians, so-called Mexicans, all the way down. We make up the real 12 tribes of Israel, of Yashar Allah. Yashar meaning prince, and Allah means power. Okay? And it's your brother Yurah Ha'am of the GMS Louisiana Saints Camp, coming back at you with another quick video entitled Death of the Dollar. Death of the Dollar. Events are in motion to remove dollar as reserve currency. Events are in motion to remove the dollar as a reserve currency. Okay? Stemming from an article. All right? So I'm going to read the article, about 3 or 4 paragraphs, hit some precepts, and close it out, and hopefully be edifying. Okay? It says, Double Line warns events are in motion to remove dollar as reserve currency. So we're in the state and time where the dollar is going to be devalued, okay? All the way down, usher into a radio frequency identification chip, which is the mark of the beast, okay? And the kingdom of Esau is going to be wiped out, and the kingdom of Yashar is going to be established, of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, okay? Matter of fact, let me get a precept. Ecclesiastes chapter 10, all right, and verse 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches gained by deceit, Salaki, and riches got by deceit, because how did Esau gain these riches, man? Through the bloodshed of the Israelites, man. Okay, so-called Negroes all the way down to the so-called Native Americans, to the so-called Mexicans, okay? The kingdom is translated from one people to another, from Esau, Edom, to the nation of Israel, okay? The book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 6, and verse 6. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. This is symbolic, okay? If you can picture that inside of your mind, this happening is Jacob stripping Esau down from his kingdom, man. Grabbing his ankle. The ankle is the Achilles of a man's strength, of his well-being, of how he mobilizes himself. So pulling you down, because you can't walk unless you cripple. Okay? If you're a cripple, you will not be able to walk. Okay? So holding that heel is symbolic of of Jacob, which are the Israelites, stripping Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, beginning with the top banking families, okay, the Amalekites, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Bilderbergs, okay, stripping them of their power. Verse 9, 2 Amos chapter 6 and verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So the death of this reserved currency that holds fast today, that's being devalued today, okay, is the end game, which leads to the RFID chip, okay? Once that dollar is devalued and wiped out and burnt, okay, they're going to move to a digital dollar, okay, ultimately leading up to that chip. But all information is going to be stored inside of a grain of rice and implanted underneath the skin, pertaining to Revelation, the 13th chapter, okay? So it says, for every action, there is an equal opposite reaction. In the case of international trade and global payments, the United States made aggressive use of sanctions and tariffs. And that's why they have been putting sanctions on these other nations like China, like Iran, like Russia. And if you look at the news today, Russia has gotten out of the dollar. Iran has gotten out of the dollar. China has gotten out of the dollar. Hell, China and Russia think they're going to be the next superpower. Okay? But that's not going to happen. All right? With some merit, Washington has argued that these actions level the playing field for a global trade or punish bad global actors. But a series of equal and opposite reactions are occurring as nations move to remove the role of the U.S. dollar and the center of global trade and finance. Okay, so who's spearheading this thing? The United States. Okay, and you're going to have all other nations included in this. They're going to come to an agreement, which is the New World Order, or global world currency, to usher in, okay, a new dollar, man, which is going to be digital through UBI payments, which is universal basic income. Okay, the Fed's Jerome Powell has already stated, look, we're in the final stages of the dollar being on the front stage. We're going to shift, and they're going to use the coronavirus as an as the perfect storm to implement it. All right, the book of Revelations, chapter 13, pages tore out. The book of Revelations, chapter 13. Yeah, the book of Revelations, chapter 13 and verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. Speaking of America, okay, the reincarnated Roman Empire, okay, and he had two horns like a lamb. Because what does a lamb have? A lamb has two horns, one on this side, one on that side, okay, which symbolically once again represents the Democrats and the Republican, okay, which is the modern day Roman Empire. Because in the ancient Roman Empire, you had what? The plebeians and the patricians, okay. Plebeians represented the poor, to the Democrats, the patricians represented the rich. Okay? So it says, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. So through the oil markets being in shambles right now, okay, the stock market crash, it fluctuates, it goes up and down. The Dow jumps to 600. Okay, then the next week it jumps down to 900. Or whatever like that, up and down, okay? You have what they call a fiat currency, okay? You have GDP, which is growth domestic product, okay? The amount of products that's being ushered into the cities and everything like that. Job losses, okay? Unemployment rate, okay? And what are they telling you? That they're going to give you $1,400 per American, whoever qualifies. Now they got a new stimulus package on the table where they're going to give, I think it's $3,000 per child in a household, okay, from 17 years old all the way down. And this is going to cause hyperinflation into the economic system, where that bubble is going to burst. And I went over there in Revelation, the 6th chapter. That is hyperinflation, that black horse, okay. So it says, verse 12, and he, Esau, Edom, exerciseth all the power of the first beast which is the Roman Empire, because you had all the Caesars in the Roman Empire, 12 of them, okay, the 12 feathers, pertaining to 2nd Ezra 11th chapter, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. In order to worship this first beast, you're going to have to take that chip, okay? And they're going to baby you into receiving these digital dollar payments, okay? You can look at a video Dabu 7 did, okay? Take these digital payments, okay, through the UBI system. We're going to wipe out your current debt, all right? We're going to, anything you owe on your credit cards, that's going to be wiped out and depleted, okay? But stipulations hold to that, man, all right? They hold to that. And if you don't comply with these restrictions under these guidelines, okay, it's going to be a no travel unless you have the COVID-19 vaccination shot that posted inside of your system, okay? 2 shots at that, okay? You're going to be restricted on your travel, okay? Here you see President Biden already limiting restrictions over there in Florida, okay? And as these states are easing up on these COVID-19 restrictions, the cases are going to increase. Then another lockdown is going to come, okay? America is finished, all right? So back into the article, all right? It says, this will have a long-lasting structural impact in ending the dominance of the dollar as the world's reserve currency. This is the end of the dollar as you know it. So enjoy it while you can, because it's finna go digital. And the end game is, like we said over here, Great Millstone, implement a radio frequency identification chip inside of your hand or in your forehead, all right? Over the past years, the United States set out to address inequalities in the global trade environment by imposing tariffs and sanctions on various countries from China to Mexico and Canada, with the rewriting of the North American, and they were saying this years ago about the NAT, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, okay, the North American Treaty Organization, with the rewriting of the North American Free Trade Agreement into the United States, Mexico, Canada Agreement. So they're going to combine all this into one. This is Revelation 17th chapter right here, and Revelation 13th chapter, what I'm reading. Even the countries in the European Union were affected. In addition, Washington implemented sanctions against Russia in 2014 in response, and Russia is in the news today. They have already said, okay, if tariffs and sanctions are implemented on their country, they're going to cut ties with the European Union. Go look that article up. Russia has stated if tariffs and sanctions are implemented on their country, they're going to cut ties with the European Union. Okay? Daniel, the 2nd chapter. Okay? And it says, even the countries in the European Union were affected. In addition, Washington implemented sanctions against Russia in 2014 in response to Moscow's, okay, which is the capital of Russia, annexation of Crimea, and more recently against Iran and Venezuela, effectively using the dollar's role at the center of global trade and finance to force compliance of other nations. So they're going to use these other countries that spearhead these type of things, like Russia and Iran and Venezuela, to get all these other countries to comply into a one world currency, a one world agreement, which is the new world order. Let me get a precept lined up on deck, man, as I read this next article. All right. So it says, these actions impacted nations beyond those directly targeted by the United States action, and today many governments, one world government, around the world, because this whole thing is not going to be just America and Britain, okay, and Europe. It's going to be global. The new world order is a whole global society, man. Okay, coming under one agreement. Not the United States over here and Russia and Iran over here in China. Okay, they all going to be joined together. All right, and it says, and today many governments around the world are taking countervailing steps to remove their reliance. I said that earlier, how Iran has backed out of the dollar. China has backed out of the dollar. Russia has backed out of the dollar. Of their reliance on the dollar-based global trade and finance system that has reigned since 1944. And we love that 44 number over here with Great Millstone. Zephaniah chapter 1 and verse 10. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord, that there shall be the noise of a cry from the fish gate, and a howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills. The hills represents what? The governments. This whole economic system, whole infrastructure is going to crash one day soon. Lord willing, Aparadazah, the year 2021, we hasten the day of our Lord's return, that he crashed this system. As it said, it will come to pass in that day. We hasten that day, so Lord willing, it happens this year in the coming months. Okay? All right? So the latter part of that says, and a howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills. Okay? Because America spearheads this global reserve currency. No one wants to deal with the dollar right now. The COVID-19 pandemic is going to usher in what? A contamination of merely transforming this dollar to another, from this person's hand to another person's hand where they can catch it. The perfect storm has already been set. Now they're going to use something that's called gradualism, where they're going to just ease that the death of that dollar right in, man. Digital payments, okay? Credit cards, no longer useful, okay? And they're going to say what? People have been filing their taxes and everything like that, touching their tax forms, or giving it to the tax realtor and everything like that. You can pass the virus by that, okay? You have something called identity theft, okay? They're going to throw all that in there to make it sound so good, all right? Here's Esau, the so-called white man, making it sound so good right here. It's in the scriptures. Sirach chapter 12, all right, and verse 16. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips. Who's the enemy? Who's the sworn enemy of the nation of Israel? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. And you're not white, you're red, okay? But in his heart, he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. And he's going to throw you into a pit by causing you to take these digital payments, which is going to lead to what? A radio frequency identification chip. That's throwing you to the pit. Esau, Edom know the scriptures. He knows that you're not supposed, that you Israelites are not supposed to make a cut within your flesh. Going back to the Levitical law. Okay? Not to make a cut into your flesh. All right? That's how you're going to throw you into a pit, because if you take that chip, you're going to be destroyed. Pertaining to the book of Revelation, 14th chapter. All right? And it says, he will weep with his eyes. I mean, it's going to feel sorry for you. Okay? Or come get these stimulus packages, man. Or give you a pat on the back. Okay? Get these UBI payments, man. We're going to be paying you every month, man. But he's going to throw you into a pit. All right? But if you find opportunity, and this is the perfect opportunity, through the COVID-19 pandemic, okay, to usher in this global death of the dollar and usher in digital payments, he will not be satisfied with blood. He is not satisfied till he wants full control over you by giving you that radio frequency identification chip, which is the mark of the beast. All right, the book of Revelations, I had that I was reading, Revelation chapter 13. Chapter 13 and verse 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, everybody, every inhabitant on the earth, to receive a mark. And mark, that word mark is charagma. The etymology of that word is charax, which goes to the syringe, that needle going underneath the skin, okay, that cut, okay, in the right hand or in their foreheads. We went over that countless times. The Neuralink through Elon Musk is the brain chip, which going to the head, and the hand represents scanning, okay, through the payment system. All right. So it says in November 15th, Asian countries comprising 30% of global GDP, as I said earlier, signed the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, creating a free trade zone among the signatories. This agreement attempts to provide gains to trading within the regional partnership through reduction of trade and investment barriers and increased incentives of economic integration. It is noteworthy that RCEP, okay, came about with participation of either the US or Europe and has effectively created the world's largest trading bloc according to the Rand Corp. Okay, so let me jump down, okay, because this a lot. This a lot right here, man. It says Asia is not the only region taking steps to disentangle itself. Oh my God. Asia is not the only region taking steps to disentangle itself from the United States dollar standard in global trade and payments. Let's hold the book of Revelation chapter 17 on deck. Okay? And it says, the European Commission, the executive branch of the 27th century European Union, which is EU, released a communication explicitly stating the goal to strengthen the international role of the euro. The goal would help achievable global such as the resilience of the international monetary system, which is the IMF, owned by the Edomites, the Amalekites, the Rothschild family. Okay, a more stable and diversified global currency system, and a broader choice for market operators. Okay, the book of Revelation chapter 17, and let's start at verse 10. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space, which is talking about America. America's time was from 1776 all the way up until this time right here, which is 2021, which is what, 245 years. All right, verse 11. Revelation chapter 17, verse 11. And the beast that was the Roman Empire and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7th, and goeth into perdition. Talking about Britain, which America is birthed out of Britain. Okay, and America, okay, is going to make Britain shameful of them. Okay, the book of Jeremiah. Let's get that. Precept upon precept, line upon line. Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 12. Your mother, which is Great Britain, shall be sore confounded. Confounded means to what? Be ashamed. They're going to be ashamed at America in the coming days, the coming months. Okay? Pertaining to Revelation, the 18th chapter. Okay? She that bare you, that gave birth to you, shall be ashamed. Confounded means to be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert, because all nations are going to turn on America. Pertaining to Revelation 17 and 16. So back in the book of Revelation, chapter 17 and verse 12, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings. And we went over that countless of times, okay, about who the 10 horns are, okay. You have Germany, you have Greece, you have Italy, okay, you have Britain, all right, you have Spain, you have the Luxembourgs, you have the Netherlands, you have the UK, you have Portugal, okay, you have Germany, all right. Those are the 10 horns right there, all right. And it says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, because those 10 horns have no kingdom, okay. They only have a little power, okay. Oh, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast, which is talking about the whole European Union. They're going to give that power to the beast, which is NATO, okay. The NATO is military, and the EU is political. So these political tears are going to turn to military conflict, where these nations are going to turn on America, okay. The reserve currency, the dollar, which is going to go from to gold to silver, is not going to be worthy anymore, man. Russia's going to spearhead this World War III. They're not going to regard silver or gold. Pertaining to Revelation 13th chapter, man. Isaiah 13th chapter. Okay? So this is the death of the dollar as we know it, a great crashing from the hills It's about to happen, and it can go down any day right now. So with that, I hope the video was edifying. Facing the east, giving all infinite honor and glory and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harakah Kodash. Double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. Peace and blessing and salutation to the elect men who continue to push this truth throughout the four corners of the earth in these last days. Shalom, Makim, Abal Babal, Kwam Yasha Allah.